Why having brotherhood is the best thing you can do. Nietzsche. Chapter 1. The illusion of solitude ***. Success had always felt like a fortress to Alex, a gleaming tower built by his own hands, where every brick was a late night, a sacrifice, a refusal to rely on anyone but himself. He wore his self-reliance like armor, polished to a high shine by his interpretation of the philosophers he admired. Nietzsche, he believed, had championed the solitary figure, the one who stood apart from the herd, whose strength was forged in isolation. Alex saw himself as that figure, a lone wolf howling his triumphs into a wind that carried no answering call. His penthouse apartment, a monument to minimalist design and sweeping city views, was the perfect lair for such a creature. It was spacious, immaculate, and profoundly quiet. The fall was not a slow crumbling but a sudden, structural collapse. A single deal, the cornerstone of his latest venture, dissolved over a weekend, taking with it the confidence of his investors and the future of his company. The phone calls stopped. The emails dwindled to nothing. The silence in his apartment, once a comfort, became a physical weight. It was in this new, oppressive quiet that a second, more personal tremor struck. A terse message from his sister, the last thread connecting him to his family, confirmed what he had long avoided. He was not invited to his nephew's graduation. The reason was unstated but deafeningly clear. He had built his fortress so high he had forgotten how to lower the drawbridge. That night, the emptiness he had mistaken for strength curdled into a cold, gnawing powerlessness. The sleek furniture and abstract art offered no solace. He paced the polished concrete floors, his reflection a ghost in the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city lights twinkled below, a galaxy of interconnected lives from which he was utterly divorced. He had thought himself an overman, transcending the need for others, but now he felt less than a man, a hollowed-out shell echoing with the memory of his own voice. He sank into a leather chair, the cold material leaching the warmth from his body, and let his gaze fall upon the well-worn copy of Nietzsche on his desk. The words he had so fiercely clung to now seemed to mock him. Had he read strength where there was only a warning about the abyss? Had his pride twisted a philosophy of becoming into a justification for his own emotional exile? A dry, heaving sob broke the silence. It was a sound so foreign in that sterile environment that it startled him. Then another followed, and another, until the dam holding back a lifetime of suppressed loneliness and fear finally shattered. He slid from the chair onto the cold floor, his shoulders shaking with the force of his despair. Tears he had not shed since childhood streaked his face, falling onto the gray concrete, leaving dark, temporary stains. There in the heart of his self-made kingdom, completely and utterly alone, Alex broke. The illusion of his solitary strength lay in pieces around him, as fragile as glass. The armor was off, and beneath it was only raw, trembling need. The howl of the lone wolf had finally died in his throat, leaving behind a silence that demanded to be filled, a void that his own will could no longer sustain. He needed something else, something more, and the terrifying, nascent hope of that realization was the only thing that felt real in the long, dark hours until dawn. Chapter 2. The Dawn of Brotherhood. The flyer for the men's group felt alien in Alex's hand, a flimsy rectangle of paper that promised connection in a world he had taught himself to navigate alone. He had found it tucked under his windshield wiper, a seemingly random act that felt, in his newly raw state, like a pointed message. For a week it sat on his kitchen counter, a silent accusation. Going felt like an admission of defeat, a public declaration that his fortress had fallen. Yet, the memory of the cold floor and his own shattered reflection was a more potent motivator than any pride. On Tuesday evening, he drove to the community center with his jaw clenched so tight it ached, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, every instinct screaming for him to turn back. The room was not what he had feared. There were no aggressive handshakes or forced bonhomie, just a circle of mismatched chairs in a space that smelled of old wood and coffee. A dozen men of varying ages sat, their postures a lexicon of guardedness. He took a seat near the door, an escape route firmly in mind. The facilitator, a man named Leo with kind eyes and a calm demeanor, began not with platitudes but with a simple, stark admission of his own recent struggle with a divorce that had left him feeling like a stranger to himself. He spoke not for pity but for truth, and the room seemed to lean in, the shared silence becoming a vessel for understanding. Later, during a break, Leo approached Alex not with pressure but with a quiet curiosity that felt disarming. He spoke of his own past, a decade spent building a corporate persona that had nearly erased the man beneath, a performance of strength that had left him exhausted and empty. He talked about the moment he realized that the armor was the cage. Alex listened, and for the first time, he did not feel the need to offer a more impressive story of his own suffering. He simply nodded, the simple act of being heard without judgment loosening something tight in his chest. This was not a herd. It was a gathering of individuals who had, like him, mistaken solitude for sovereignty. Weeks bled into a new rhythm. The Tuesday meetings became an anchor point. The conversations deepened, moving from shared struggles to shared activities, building a shed for a local shelter, organizing a neighborhood cleanup. Alex found himself working alongside these men, their camaraderie forged not in grand pronouncements, but in the simple, physical